Hi, I'm Annabelle.
And I'm Amy, and welcome to Escaping Purgatory, a podcast in which we rewatch Supernatural and then talk it through in the hopes that we can finally escape this show.
Join us each week and leave comments on upcoming episodes, and together we can escape Supernatural Purgatory.
Hello.
Hey. This week we are talking about Crossroad Blues. I have thoughts and feelings for this episode. Overall, I enjoyed it. It has an 8.8 on IMDb. I'm surprised it's that high, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I have a grievance with this episode. And it's a pretty major one when you think about it. Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to me, it is a pretty major one. But I'll get into that as we go. Because I think it tainted my enjoyment of the episode overall.
Keeping me and everyone else in suspense here, because I don't know what you're talking about.
Do you want me to say what it is then?
No, keep it.
Okay.
Keep it.
Okay. I will.
Well, this episode was written by Sarah Gamble and directed by Steve Bayham, and it feels like an episode from a later season, I would say.
Yes.
Yeah, even
definitely.
though I knew it was coming. It's a strange one. I mean, in the recap, there's a very big focus on John and demons, obviously, for this episode.
Mm-hmm.
That makes total sense. And then we get straight into... What is that? Greenwood?
Yeah, it's Greenwood.
Thank you.
Greenwood, Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
So I just have to, this is just silly, but, it says then and does the recap and then now.
Yeah.
But it's not really now, because it's August 1938.
That's true.
So it's then, and then.
Then. It's then. It's fine.
Then.
I mean, so we see... I'm just going to say it straight out. We see Robert Johnson. So, and I think the song he's playing here is Crossroad Blues.
I think so too.
He's kind of playing in like a small bar. It's like Prohibition era, right? I think in the 30s, maybe. I don't know American history.
I know it started in the 20s. I just don't know when it was lifted.
Yeah, so I'm probably wrong on that, but fine. And he's kind of playing and slipping up every now and then because he keeps hearing like dogs barking outside, and his lady friend partner seems to be noticing this as well and kind of looking concerned for him.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually he just runs out because the dogs are getting closer and closer, leaves his guitar, which I thought was quite poignant, and he kind of locks himself in a barn. And I don't know if you've listened to Crossroad Blues, but I had I went on a little bit of a blues trip before watching this episode, and there's a line in there where it's I'm sinking to my knees at the crossroads, and when he goes into the barn, he sinks down to his knees, and it kind of looks like he's praying. I was like, oh, it's so good if you know.
Yeah, definitely.
And then the door is bashing in, and then eventually it opens, and it's the patrons from the bar and his partner, and unfortunately, he's dead, and it's all very sad. But this was 1938,
So it looks like he's having a seizure, because he does say something. He says, dogs. So
the legend goes of Robert Johnson, if you don't know it already, he was a famous blues singer who he went to go play on a stage and then laughed off. And then he came back 6 months later and he was the best anybody had ever heard. And people joked that he sold his soul to the devil. But apparently he was also quite a ladies' man. When he did die, he had 3 different women claiming to be his widow, and the story goes that he was actually poisoned by a husband of one of a woman with some whiskey. So he drank some poisoned whiskey, which kind of makes sense. But apparently he was also this bit is also true, in that he was ranting and raving about dogs after him. But maybe because he was poisoned, he wasn't in his right mind. But I think that probably was what was happening with him, looking like he was seizing in that barn, was trying to stay true to the legend, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Because it definitely, he ends by saying dogs, black dogs, and then he dies in this woman's arms.
Yeah. So, I mean, cool story.
Yeah, definitely. I'm surprised that the actor that they got to play him
Mhm.
looks very similar. Like, if you look at pictures of Robert Johnson,
Yeah.
that the actor, like, it was a dead ringer almost. It was kind of, when I looked at it, I was like, ooh.
Like, eerily similar.
Mm-hmm.
Who sold their soul to be a guest star on Supernatural?
Yeah, exactly.
But I like it. I mean, Robert Johnson, I think he only ever recorded like 29 songs in his whole life, and then just like died tragically at like the age of 27. And it's just, it's said in this episode as well, like these sort of genius people who sort of appear and then sort of burn out.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think it's an interesting take. The fact that he wrote about so much occult stuff in his music. Maybe he did sell his soul to the devil.
He may have. I mean, also, he was from Mississippi, so there is a lot of, like, it gets touched on in this, a lot of hoodoo down there.
Yeah.
Along with, like, Louisiana, like, all of that kind of coast is where, slaves were. They brought their hoodoo and beliefs from, their tribes and stuff from Africa. Yeah. So it's very possible that, and since it's the 1930s when this happened, you still have generations of their parents would have been slaves. Like, I don't think people realize how close it actually is.
Yeah.
But yeah, the parents of a lot of those black people in the bar and some of the older patrons were probably slaves or new slaves. Like, it was, it's kind of appropriate since Juneteenth was like last weekend. But yeah. Anyway, I won't go on that rant because that's a dark rant. And
yeah.
If you don't know what Juneteenth is, go look it up. It's very important. I'm glad that they finally made it like a holiday in this country, because it should have been a long time ago.
Yeah, I agree with you.
So, we can get into the bulk of the episode, I suppose. So we see a little bit of the repercussions from the last week's episode. They're Sam's talking about how there's now a warrant out for Dean's arrest in St. Louis, and Dean is now on the FBI list.
Yeah.
I like how Sam says, like, so Dean asks,
what do they got on you?
Sure, they just haven't posted it yet.
Wait, no accessory? Nothing?
Shut up.
You're jealous.
No, I'm not.
Uh-huh.
Sam's a little jealous that he's not wanted by the FBI. Not even as an accomplice. In that quiet voice is kind of cute. And then they start talking about, like, this architect who jumped off his own design and was being chased by black dogs. So this is part one of my grievance with this episode.
Okay.
Why did that attract them to this case? Because there's nothing so far, like, their demon knowledge is basic. I feel like we needed to see the architect, like, yeah, we've kind of seen the black dogs being, it's a person being chased by black dogs, but that was in the past.
Yeah.
So it's got no relevance to what's going on right now. And then I was like, well, maybe it's because they know about the urban legend, but again, they don't mention that until a little bit later. I'm just like, what is it about this case that seeing a black dog is cause for them to go look? Because even Dean says, this is actually a black dog, like he as if they know what it is.
So, yeah, how did the dog get up all those stairs, blah, blah, blah. But black dogs are a, like, supernatural legend. Generally, like, seeing a black dog is considered like a death omen.
Okay.
So, like, and like a spectral dog. So in Europe, they're called, like, barghasts. And they're kind of like, like a spectral dog that appears to you before you die, essentially. They're mentioned in Harry Potter as well. Harry sees one in his tea leaves when he drinks, but that's more alluding to
Sirius.
Yeah, as well as, like, yeah, death kind of hangs over all of them. So I think what he was saying here when, like, he's saying, is it natural black dog? Is like, oh, because they haven't come across this actually seeing a spectral dog yet. But generally they don't, the actual dog doesn't harm people. Just it's kind of like the ghost in the last episode. Mm-hmm. So yes, you might see it, but it's not going to hurt you. What's going to hurt you is something else. It's an omen for your death. It's not going to cause it. Yeah, they're quite. I feel like black dogs. It's like almost like a Gaelic European thing as well. Because I've definitely heard about them here, and I feel like it's quite a well-known legend in like Scotland also. Mm-hmm. But again, like people correct me on this because I've definitely heard it before. They're even mentioned in the Witcher series as well.
Okay, so I'll give them a pass for that then. Yeah, okay. Knowing more a bit about that, it does make a bit more sense.
But I think you're right. I think it's flimsy because as far as I know, this guy made like a couple of calls to animal control and then jumped off his roof. Like that doesn't seem that those two things don't seem connected. Mm-hmm. So why necessarily would you look into it?
And I think also what doesn't help is that because I know where the story's going, curse of knowledge, stickers available.
What I did find interesting here is that they're talking about like black dogs, and Sam hands Dean a picture with Fenrir on it, and I didn't know that Fenrir, which is like the big wolf from Norse legend, is connected in any way to black dogs.
I guess they might have used it as like a blueprint as to like how big a black dog would actually be, and like why wouldn't anybody see a dog that was this big? That's the way that I kind of interpreted that.
Yeah, because he hands him this with Fenrir on it, and I stopped it and I paused it because it's like Fenrir's children, Hattie and Skull, are connected to the legends of the black dog, but I've not heard that before, so I don't know if it's something they made up for Supernatural, that these two wolves were like the black dog legend, or if that is actually the case. I wasn't sure. I always feel like I know enough about Norse mythology and then something surprises me, so who knows, I'm probably wrong.
I mean, it's so vast, so I'm sure there's aspects that we'll probably never know, to be honest.
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of this is from all pieced together, right? So, But yeah, I thought that was interesting, and like Dean does make a joke about the size of a dog. Like, humping your leg, like, why?
And he kind of doubles down on it when Sam's like, what?
I know, right?
It's like, yeah, okay, yeah, that's true, but like, it's not something you think about. So we never actually get to see, I believe it's Sean is the architect.
No.
We never actually see who Sean is played by. We just go to his friend / business partner. They are reporters. They're just sort of trying to get a bit of a backstory on this is all basically exposition. So they had been partners for 10 years, and suddenly one day Sean is, he was tending a bar, and then suddenly he can design these genius buildings that nobody's ever thought of. His friend, which I don't think, so he's credited literally as Sean's friend. So I don't know if he actually got a name in this episode.
I don't think so.
Like, a lot of these kind of people don't really get names in this first part. He's a little bit jealous that Sean's getting even more attention, even more than he did in life.
No, I mean, here's where they first hear a mention of the bar Lloyd's.
Yeah.
Because that's where he was tending bar. And this guy's very, like, I don't know, jealous. I think he's just jealous. Like, he's clearly his friend, but he's like, why is this guy so great? Which I thought was quite interesting. And, like, yeah, so we find that out, and it kind of, like, says what I said before, like, why do geniuses always die young? Like, because, and I guess the implication there is, like, how many people who are really good at stuff actually have sold their souls? Like,
yeah, I'm surprised they didn't, like, make a Nirvana reference, or because there's a whole bunch of people who, like, 27 is the age that they all died at. So I'm surprised that there weren't more of that, especially since they do like to make sort of pop culture references to what's going on, like, in current day. So it's just kind of...
Yeah, and they didn't really double down on that, because most of Well, the other 3 people here who are involved in selling their souls are now all in their 40s. So yeah, I'm surprised they didn't make that connection as well, because it's like, yeah, it's a well-known like pop culture reference that a lot of these people die at that age. So we kind of see then Dean coming out of an animal control center, or
It's called the Animal Protection Agency. Very, very plain.
lovely, and he's been flirting with the secretary whose name is Carla, and he's very proud of himself for this. And I love, so he got all the information about all the complaints that had been put in for black dogs over the last like so many months. And then he also hands Sam this piece of paper. It's like, I got this.
I don't know what this thing is.
You mean Carly's MySpace address?
Yeah, MySpace. What the hell is that? Seriously, is that like some sort of porn site?
Dean genuinely doesn't know what it is. I think the scene ends with him saying like, is it a porn site? And like Sam's just like, what? It just threw me like, oh my gosh, like 15 years back in time to when MySpace was a thing. Oh my gosh.
And like everywhere. Well, so I actually never had MySpace. I didn't sign up for it.
What?
I didn't even want Facebook for the longest. I think I held out for about 6 months before I finally just caved and got Facebook. But yeah, no, I didn't see the appeal of having MySpace, so I just never did.
I mean, I definitely had one, and I'm dreading to this day that like I access it on the Wayback Machine because I never deleted it, so it's somewhere. And
yeah,
get the drama of MySpace. Who was your top 8 friends on MySpace? Like real life friendships were lost over the top 8.
I think it's funny that like she gave out her web address basically is what she did.
Yeah.
She didn't even say like, because now you'd be like, oh, this is my handle on Instagram or whatever. Mm-hmm. I think that's even giving away my age because I can't even think of what it is because it's not called a handle, but whatever. It's such a weird concept. Like, it's not even like search me on MySpace. It's here's the actual web address. Go type this in and add me.
You'd have to, because do you not but any kind of like usernames in the early 2000s, do you not remember what they were like? It was like capital X, little x. Yeah. It's underscores everywhere, symbols. Somehow you can do like sparkles on your name, but just in typeface. I don't know. I don't understand it. I didn't then. I don't now. So I love that throwback line because what's funny is there must be people watching this who are in their like late teens, early 20s who are now like, what's MySpace?
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, this kind of shows like Dean's kind of ignorance to the internet because I don't think he's really on it. Right? No. He uses it when he needs to. Like, other than that, he's very much like a book person if he has to be. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I just think of like when they have sort of smartphones and they start using apps and things, all I can imagine is Dean learning something from Sam and then Dean then teaching it to Cass being all proud. Like, this is what I know.
That's so true. That's why Cass is so bad at using technology, because it's been filtered through 2 Winchesters down to him.
He should have directly gone to Charlie.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I love that. That's amazing.
I think it's funny that like it's also really hilarious that he asks it's a porn site because now the environment that we're in now, a lot of young attractive women have OnlyFans.
That's true.
It could have been a porn site.
Is that what people are doing now? Am I old? Is this how we're dating now? Are people just giving out their OnlyFans?
Nice. I don't think so, but and yeah, like I feel like a lot of models out there have OnlyFans, which I mean, go for it.
Yeah, power to you. So we see them then following up on these calls from the animal place, and they've obviously done a few so far, but they turn up at this house, a very fancy house, and it's a doctor's house. And they talk to a woman there who says she's the doctor's maid. And it turns out that the doctor is like the youngest ever surgeon for her area. Like, she's 42 or 43. Again, it's kind of like going through, like, she must have made a deal. And Dean finds on the fridge a picture of this doctor at Lloyd's bar, dated from 1996. So it all kind of falls into place very nicely, very quickly.
Yeah, it's been 10 years as well, because we're in 2006 now. It feels so weird to say 2006. I was going to say 2016, but I was like, nope. That's not right. Now we see the doctor in a motel, like it kind of does a crossfade, and she's like panicked and paranoid. There's lots of sort of jump cuts here because she starts to hear like the banging and the like scraping of the dogs and everything. We hear banging. It's not actually scraping, there's banging on the door. This episode is the first time that I've really noticed as dramatic zoom.
For ages and ages.
There's
not been one.
I mean, it's not quite the same, like, it's not a smooth zoom. It's like every bang is a jump cut as it zooms into the door handle and like tilts as well. I'm like doing a tilting hand movement at the same time, like you can see me. It was good. But it turns out there's actually just the manager at the door of the hotel.
Yeah.
And he's saying that she has to leave or pay for another night. And she goes to her wallet and pulls out some cash and sort of turns back, and his face gets all weird and like ashened and his eyes turn white. It's kind of creepy. It's very, very creepy.
I don't like it.
I didn't like it either. And what's even worse is that I was sat in, like, noises happen in my apartment all the time. But they're usually fairly tame. My fridge made the most horrible creaking noise right after this scene happened. I was like, nope, I'm out. And this is like 11 o'clock at night. I was like, nope, I'm done. I'm going to bed. I'll finish it up in the morning.
Like, I didn't remember that they saw people with like weird faces in this, and I can't remember why, and I still can't remember why. Like, the hell,
I don't think they explain it.
No, is it just related to like because they're not death omens? Oh yeah, fine, they're hellhounds. They're not death omens, or maybe they are. I'm having thoughts.
Well, they're not. Maybe they're one and the same.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Maybe hellhounds are the black dog legend. And that, yes, people see them before they die because they're being pursued by hellhounds. But then why the weird faces?
Maybe they're like seeing the nature of their souls? I don't know.
Ooh, spooky. I think it's just to freak them out. I think it's part of all the demons' game, essentially. Though I don't know how much control the demons have over that final stage of them being taken. But yeah, it's obviously just to like freak them out as their time is coming up, I guess. So they go and visit this bar that they've seen in the photograph, and it is at a crossroads. And I really liked the shot they did where they kind of pans up above them to see this crossroads. Dean is kind of looking around because there are these yellow flowers around the corners of the crossroads, and he points out that they're yarrow, which apparently is a flower used for a lot of spell work and things. I thought it was just a weed, but
Me too.
We have a lot of yarrow growing in our garden because we have patches in my garden at home for wildflowers, for insects and things. So I'd never thought of it like that. I will see if I can take a photo and we'll put it on Instagram of the yarrow in my yard. Like, I haven't been making deals with demons, I promise.
Well, I mean, again, we're seeing that Dean's actually pretty smart to like recognize this flower as something supernatural. He didn't know exactly what it was for, but and then sort of Sam fills in the details. But Dean recognizes it first. How do they? Okay, this is another thing. How do they know?
Yeah, because they talk about a summoning ritual that is used for summoning. So, right, this whole scene, because I thought they were going to go into the bar. I'd forgotten this. I thought they were going to go into the bar. And then they're like, oh, it's a crossroads. There's these flowers. Do you think this means what we think it means? And then they start digging in the center of the crossroads. And I'm like, how do you know this? Because you didn't know what a devil's trap was, like, I don't know how many episodes ago.
Like, at the beginning of the season.
Had they been taking, like, night classes with Bobby?
See, yeah, exactly. Or, so, John's journal is one of those ones where you can add pages.
Mm-hmm.
So my guess is that John has made another journal with all his demon information, and they probably added it into his old journal. That's my thinking.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I don't know how much John put in there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, did he put in that last ritual that he did?
Yeah, because that was completely different as well. That summoning ritual is different to this summoning ritual.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's too many ways to summon a demon in this show.
Which makes sense because there's so many different laws. Like you were saying at the beginning, this way of summoning a demon is a hoodoo way, whereas the other one was probably like a dark Christian way.
Yeah.
Or whatever what was the term that they used in faith? I don't remember.
Oh, I don't remember. But yeah, like some kind of evil monks. I don't know.
Yeah.
So they dig and they find this tin, and in the tin it has, they say, like a black cat bone. It has some graveyard dirt, which like Sam puts really close to his face and was like, yes, graveyard dirt.
Be willing to bet that's graveyard dirt. And a black cat bone.
That's serious spell work. I mean, that's deep south hoodoo stuff.
Used to summon a demon.
Not just summon one. Crossroads are where pacts are made. These people are actually making deals with the damn thing.
And then it has like photographs of the people who've made the deals. I really like the idea of a crossroads being a place to summon things. And I'm not sure where it originates from, whether it is from the legend of Robert Johnson or if it's even older than that. But people have said like it's used because obviously you've got the 4 directions of the crossroads, like that's the 4 directions on the compass. Other people say like, oh, it's kind of showing the intersection between heaven and hell, which I think is kind of cool. But I like it. I like the symbolism of it because when you're kind of stood in a crossroads, right? Like I'm getting back real specific with it. when you're stood on a crossroads, you have to eventually pick a direction, and that's kind of what these people are doing with this.
That's true.
Deal, the deals that they're making. They're picking a direction for their life, good or bad. I think a character later says like, you know, you gotta sit with your decisions. So
yeah, definitely.
I like it, and I'm not. Yeah, like I said, I'm not entirely sure where the symbolism comes from. I do feel like it's older than Robert Johnson. Just it's pinging in my brain that there are definitely like some pagan connotations to Crossroads.
More than likely, yeah. I mean that kind of makes sense. And so they then know that it's to summon a crossroads demon.
Yeah. How?
How? How do they know? I don't understand it. Like I understand maybe that. So again, this would be a really interesting take of like seeing them like. I know you're making a joke about taking night classes, but like going to Bobby to talk about and learn about demons. Are they researching the different kind of demons that are out there now? Because they know that they exist?
I mean, they must be doing extracurricular demon research. I mean, that has to be it. That has to be. Because they didn't know anything, and now they seem to know practically everything. Maybe they're ringing Bobby between what we're seeing here. I mean, we haven't seen Bobby since episode 1, so...
Yeah. And this episode feels very jam-packed. There's a lot going on in this episode, so I think even if they wanted to show like conversations with Bobby about possible demons and like things like that, I don't think they had time.
No. I mean, so Sam and Dean have a conversation here about Crossroads demons and deals. And Dean says a line here that I thought was pretty poignant considering what happens.
These people are actually making deals with the damn thing. You know, because that always ends good.
The society have no idea, mate.
No idea. No idea.
So yeah, they make the connection between hellhounds, so they know hellhounds exist as well.
And again, like, how did they know?
It is a big plot hole in this episode.
Yeah, and that's what really got under my skin, was just like they know so much without ever telling us how they know.
Yeah.
And I mean, I understand that you don't always have to tell people how knowledge is gained,
Mm-hmm.
But this is a huge leap in knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
When you think of like, so that they've had 3 demon interactions, right?
Yeah.
Phantom Traveler and In My Time of Dying. That's and then this one.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, other than Meg, I mean, they really haven't. And like when they do come across Meg, they kind of say like, oh, you know, demons are really rare, and like we haven't seen this really before. And it's the same with Bobby. He's like, normally we'd only see this many
in a year.
Exactly, and now we're seeing loads. So I guess they're becoming more common, and I'm sure they've probably spoken to some of the hunters at the Roadhouse, because they all definitely seem to know that demons exist. It doesn't quite fly. No. It's like the vampire situation, right? Vampires are extinct and yet seem to be almost everywhere, and like loads of them. And then it's the same with demons. Like, oh yeah, we don't see demons very often, but like suddenly, I mean, that one kind of makes sense, I guess, because of the story, but still.
Maybe this was one of the demon sightings that they had seen 10 years ago.
Well, yeah, exactly, possibly. Oh, I don't know. I mean, maybe Crossroads demons are just not as uncommon because they're easy to summon. The ingredients they had there were pretty easy to get. So, I mean, yeah, maybe these are just a more common type. You know, people making these deals is not as unheard of as they think they are. So they kind of say that the Doctor must be on the run from these hellhounds then, and I think Sam says, like, won't be able to run far enough, or something to that effect.
Yeah. And then we're back to the Doctor, and Doctor is hearing the hellhounds, like, smashing against the door, and then it suddenly stops, and then it crashes through the window. This next part is, like, the thing that I always associate hellhounds with, which is, like, her trousers ripping in that shape, the wounds on her leg. For some reason, that's always been like, hellhounds. Yes, this is the image. Well, that, and when, like, I think it's season 9 where they have to, like, get hellhound blood.
I can't honestly remember.
and they have to wear glasses. Like, that's the only other time that I remember. And then she's pulled away, and she drags the red sheet, and obviously she's being killed. And then we have another flashback sequence. We are now in Rosedale, Mississippi, in 1930. It's kind of interesting because it's Clarksdale, where Robert Johnson was from, and supposedly made this deal. So they're kind of like tweaking it a little bit. It's kind of interesting. It's the Rosedale instead of Clarksdale. And we see him, like, I say performing the ritual. Is it really performing it? He just sort of dug a hole and put some ingredients in the floor. Like, in terms of rituals go, that's a pretty simple one. There's no incantations or anything.
Yeah, it feels kind of similar to, like, dropping a penny in a well kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of level of summoning.
It feels a little too easy. Like you said, like, the ingredients needed are pretty straightforward. Though I'm trying to think, like, what... So in 1930... how would he have gotten a picture of himself?
Maybe it just needs to be like a drawing or something.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I guess the pictures weren't that unusual. Fine, right? I mean, if he had been maybe he would have been 17, right? At that time. He could have signed up for the war.
30? No. Too early. Too early.
That's true.
I don't know. Maybe it just had to be a
school picture.
Yeah, or like just a representation of yourself. Like, I imagine, like, hair would work, or you know, something to connect it to you.
And then this a black woman in a white, like, dress or shift. This kind of like a
nightgown almost.
Well, yeah, almost a nightgown. Appears, and she has red eyes. I do like how they've managed to now, like, bring in visual effects, and, like, so it's not actually contact lenses, it's just a visual effect, a CGI of her eyes turning. But I don't know if you notice this. When she speaks and her eyes turn red, her voice changes.
Yes, I did notice that. And they drop that later as well, where demons don't really have a weird voice. But yeah, I noticed that. I guess it's just cementing the fact that she's a demon. I guess it's like the demon's voice now coming through the human vocal cords. Yes, because it kind of shows in this episode that although they just appear, they're definitely still possessing somebody.
Mm-hmm. Yep. He asked to be the best blues man that there ever has been, and the deal is sealed with a kiss.
Yeah.
Which begs the question.
Say it, Annabelle.
Did John kiss Yellow Eyes? And the answer is yes.
The answer is totally yes. Cowards for not showing it on television.
And so that was the real reason why Yellow Eyed Demons wanted him to sweeten the pot, because he's like, if I have to kiss you, then I want something for it.
That's true. It would have been so... Look, I wanted to see it because it would have been so awkward. Like...
Because it's not even like a simple smooch. It's a full on like makeout session.
I mean, the demons do it. I guess it's like imagine very like mafiosa, like kiss of death style thing.
Yeah.
Except the demons make it weird by like full on going for it.
Definitely.
Oh. Yeah. So I love that they carried this through now, like the kissing to seal a deal thing, and I think about it always.
Then it's back to present day, and they confirm that Sam and Dean know the legend of Robert Johnson.
So it's just like the Robert Johnson legend, right? I mean, selling your soul at the Crossroads kind of deal?
Yeah, except that wasn't a legend. You know his music. You don't know Robert Johnson's songs. Sam, there's occult references all over his lyrics. I mean, Crossroad Blues, Me and the Devil Blues, Hellhound on My Trail.
And it's mostly Dean that knows, and that's because apparently he likes more than just hair metal. He has a fondness for all kinds of music because he basically educates Sam.
I wonder if Dean listens to that because it just came up on his radar, or like specifically was seeking it out because of the occult references, and he thought it was relevant to their job.
It could be a bit of both.
Makes
sense. Be a bit of both.
Yeah.
There is legend and there is truth in songs. Like you think of like nursery rhymes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it could very well be the case. It's just in Phantom Traveler they don't believe that demons exist. So why would he listen to something where he talks about demons?
I mean, he's got John's car and he's got John's cassettes. So it wouldn't be a stretch of the imagination that John told him about this or was playing. Actually, no, wouldn't tell him. He wouldn't tell him. He'd just be playing it in the car or in their motel room, making notes and not speaking to each other. So I again, it's John. It always comes back to him, like with most of the things that Dean knows.
And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Dean did get into blues music, just because I feel like it's very much in character, right?
Yeah. No, I think you're right, actually.
But so Dean's actually he's reluctant to save the people who have made deals.
Great. So we got to clean up these people's mess for them? I mean, they're not exactly squeaky clean. Nobody put a gun to their head and forced them to play Let's Make a Deal.
So what? We should just leave them to die?
Somebody goes over Niagara in a barrel. You going to jump in and try to save them?
Dean.
They then start to look through the contents of the box and they find a picture of somebody that they have to go find. Lo and behold, they find him in this like rundown house apartment complex. So I was a little bit confused because the picture that was in there looked like it could have come from like the 70s.
Yeah, an old black and white picture, but I mean, I guess passport photo maybe, or it would have been the 90s. So I feel like colour photography was very prevalent.
So I think that's where the being a representation of yourself is probably accurate. So it doesn't have to be like a recent photo.
Yeah.
It just has to be you in some kind of way.
Yeah, I think so.
And they find out that the person is George Darrow. They're pretty much very upfront with him when they get to the door because they bend down, like put their finger in some black dust that's on the floor. They realize it's pepper. And some other ingredients too. They never really say what it is. Dean's like being really callous here, but it's kind of obvious because he doesn't suffer fools.
Yeah.
And we know that from Asylum.
I think it started when they were talking back at the Crossroads and continues that train of thought to here that, these people have got themselves into their own mess. and they really maybe shouldn't be risking their lives to get them out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I get it. I don't know. It feels a bit out of character, and I think that's why Sam keeps calling him on it, because actually they would normally think, oh yeah, yes, it doesn't suffer fools, but these people accidentally got themselves mixed up with supernatural stuff. I don't know.
So in the later conversation, he does change his mind a little bit, and I think because of the conversation he has with George, because at the moment their assumption is that everybody has made deals.
Yeah.
Which we find out actually one person did, and then how much did they really know? Like, how much trickery was on the demon part?
Yeah, exactly. They go into George's apartment. They knock on the door, and they're very upfront with these people all the way through. Actually, now they're pretty upfront with them.
Tell me, you seen that hellhound yet?
Look, we want to help. Please. Just 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Inside, he's got lots of art and things, and it's all very, again, kind of hoodoo stuff. Kind of that's the vibe you're getting. And it's clear this guy kind of knew what he was doing. Like you said, it turns out that he summoned the demon. He tells him about the dust, and it's kind of, maybe he has some of that knowledge. I think he even says that his grandma passed it down to him.
Mm-hmm.
He does say is that he summoned the demon, but then didn't expect it to hang around. So I think you're right in that this goes some way to changing Dean's mind, because you can imagine it, right? The demon goes into the bar and is promising all these wild things. The people there have been drinking, and they're like, haha, sure, yeah, sure, you'll make me famous. I'll sign your fake contract. So I do wonder how much they thought that it was real when they were making those deals. Whereas George definitely did know what he was getting himself into.
And George is resigned to his fate. He's not asking them to save him. He knows that he made a mistake. One thing I want to point out before they really get into this conversation, he shows them, he tells them what he wanted, and he wanted to have talent.
Mm-hmm.
And it shows the painting. Did you look at the first painting that gets shown?
Tell me.
If you pause it, it looks like this. I could be projecting, but the way that it's shown on screen is too much. It looks like Dean looking down with keys all around him.
Oh my God.
And the keys so it's a motif of keys crossed over each other, and it's there's a motif everywhere. Yeah. And he's looking down, and his eyes are black. Come on. Is that not foreshadowing?
No, that's foreshadowing 100%. That has to be.
And then the next picture that we see before it focuses on George is a devil. It's a man with horns.
So did the demon also give him the gift of prophecy? Or is it just because he's touched by demonic influence? Is he seeing into the future? Because, yes, you're right. The seal. The seal.
Right. Right.
I love that. I love that so much. I think that's amazing. I'm going to go back and look at it and post.
Because that cannot be a coincidence. It could be a coincidence, but it can't be. They lingered on it for too long for it to just be like...
The thing is, though, is that it has to be, because they definitely hadn't written that part of the story yet, because that came after the writer's strike. I hate this show. Why is it so accidentally genius?
I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I was blown away.
Thank you for pointing that out. So, George he gives him some of the goofer dust that he's made to keep hellhounds and demons away. I'm not into. He doesn't actually say entirely what it does. So
I think it's just a hoodoo version of salt, maybe a bit stronger.
So keeps kind of evil things away. And it's interesting that Sam and Dean don't know about it. I think Dean says here they know a little bit of everything, which is true. So Sam really wants to help George. That's what he's like. He's empathetic. He wants to help people. George, I think he is very much resigned, because we were right. What we said at the beginning of this is that he knew what he was getting into. Right. And he's kind of tired of keeping the demons at bay. He's trying to buy himself a couple more days to finish his last painting, and then he's out. He also made a poor deal, right, as well, because he said he asked for talent and not fame, so he still ended up sort of a poor artist. And he should have known better out of all of them. He should have known better about the deal he was making. It's very...
This is true.
Fairy trickstery, right? You have to ask for exactly what you want.
Exactly.
And then probably still going to get twisted.
Definitely. We also find out that, like I said, the demon stayed and made deals with 3 other people. The last person, George actually has sympathy for, because he's like, well, you know, he seemed like a nice guy. So this was where, like, I think Dean sort of turned the tables and actually had sympathy for the other people who had died. And this new guy who is Evan Hudson, which we then cut to, and he's in his house, and he hears her hand. He's like in his office, and he looks out the window, and his wife comes in and is like, you spying on the neighbors? I guess he knows his time is up, maybe, because he's basically sending his wife away. Like, she's going to go visit her sisters, and he's saying goodbye without saying goodbye.
Yeah.
She's kind of picking up the vibes. Again, as she's walking away, she turns back, and her face is all, like, messed up as well. And then it switches back to normal, and then she says, well, I love you too. It's all very sweet.
It is, apart from the really scary face. It threw me off because I forgot it happened, and it was actually quite scary.
Sam and Dean have obviously found Evan, and they knock on the door, and Evan immediately assumes that they're demons, which I think is hilarious.
Did you see, as the camera zoomed into them on the door, there's a tiny sign on the fence that says "Beware of the dog"? So I thought it was really funny.
No, I didn't see that.
Because they definitely don't own a dog, these people. I was just like, oh, yeah. Well, to be fair, Evan assumes they're demons because Dean basically rocks up to him like, time's up. Like,
yeah, it's very true.
Yes? Evan Hudson?
Yeah. You ever been to a bar called Lloyd's? Would have been about 10 years ago. Come on, we're not demons.
Any other bright ideas?
Kicks in the door, because obviously that's what he does. And then they get to, like, the office, and then he tries to kick it in again, and Sam's like, what the hell are you doing? And just, like, gently opens the door.
He fully grabs his leg to, like, stop him from kicking it as well. I love it so much. It's so stupid. But that's the only funny bit in this episode. So this guy, he was, like, running away from demons and went into his office with an unlocked door. Like, he's not doing a good job at surviving.
No, not at all.
I
mean, it was kind of a lucky guess as well, though.
I guess so, but I feel like someone running through the house, you're going to be able to tell where they are, like footsteps.
Yeah, that's true.
So they corner Evan and basically say to him, like, we're trying to help you, actually, like, we're not chill. Mm-hmm. And Dean's being really snarky with him still. I know you kind of said you thought he changed his mind. I didn't think it was until Evan had actually explained his deal that Dean became sympathetic at all. I don't know though, actually, because he does make a face when they leave George.
But he makes a face because the story that George tells.
Yeah.
Oh no! I see. Yeah, no. So I think he's like beginning to understand rather than like he's open to explanation rather than judgment.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think if they hadn't met George, he probably wouldn't have even heard Evan out on this, really. I don't know. It's a tough one because Dean's got a lot of conflicting feelings about this whole demon situation.
Especially Evan's story as well, which turns out that, you know, his wife, which I think name's Julie, is that right? Julia?
No idea.
I don't remember. Julie. Yeah, it's Julie. She was dying. He was looking for anything to help her. She'd just gone into a hospice and she had a couple of days left and that was it.
Yeah.
And then she was made better by the demon. So this is definitely where Dean's attitude changes, I think.
You did it to save her?
So yeah, I made the deal. And I'd do it again. I'd have died for her on the spot.
It's a tough one because Dean kind of goes off on one, though. I think he's sympathetic to his plight now to try and save him from the hellhounds. I don't think he is fully on board with why he made the deal in the first place.
Yes. Yeah. And I agree with you on that one. Especially because he's now connecting the dots to John.
Did you ever think about her and all this?
I did this for her.
You sure about that? I think you did it for yourself. So you wouldn't have to live without her. But guess what? She's gonna have to live without you now. And what if she knew how much it cost? What if she knew it cost your soul? How do you think she'd feel?
I just had to take a break from this for a second, because he's essentially saying bringing someone back, like making a deal in this way, is selfish. And he's right.
Mm-hmm.
But then how does that not inform his actions later on? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't... Okay, Dean's very quick to pass judgment on people sometimes. And then he never really applies that judgment to himself until after the fact. I don't know if it's just impulsivity or what, because he's clearly judging these people very harshly and then goes and makes the same mistake and doesn't really judge himself until after he's done it, and then he gets all angsty about it. It's a good character. It's complex.
Yes. But also there's that added level of, you know, if we think back to Faith and In My Time of Dying, and this gets pointed out in a little bit here as well, that he was supposed to be dead. So he may not even think about those deals. He's more thinking, well, you know, I'm getting my just dessert. Well, not just desserts, but like I'm not giving up anything. Not really. Which is horrible to say about your own life. Yeah. Absolutely horrible to, because your life matters no matter how you got there. Your life matters.
Yeah. He feels like he's righting the balance, right?
Right.
You know, that it's been weighted in his favor because of things people have done for him. So he's just correcting that mistake, essentially. Yeah. I think you're right, actually. I think because he sees other people's lives as more important than his, so it's easy for him to pass judgment on them. But yeah, you're right when it comes to him, because he doesn't see himself in the same light. Yeah, okay. Yeah. I got it. Man.
Yeah, it's not a fun thing to think about. But then they come up with a plan. Like they kind of leave Evan alone. They kind of go into the hallway, and they've decided that, or Dean said, you know, I'm going to summon the demon, and then we can trap it and exorcise it. Sam calls him out, basically, and says, no, you're not going to do this because you're not in the right headspace. Because they both figure out that, John made a deal. That's the only way that Dean can be there, is that he gave up his soul to save Dean's.
No way.
Not allowed to say no, Sammy, not unless you got a better idea.
Dean, you can forget it, all right? I'm not letting you summon that demon.
Why not?
Because I don't like where your head is at right now. That's why not.
What are you talking about?
You know, you've been on edge ever since we found that crossroads, Dean, and I think I know why.
Yeah, we don't have time for this.
Dad. You think maybe Dad made one of these deals, huh? Hell, I've been thinking it. I'm sure you've been thinking it too.
It fits, doesn't it? I'm alive, Dad's dead. Yellow-eyed demon was involved. What if he did? What if he struck a deal? My life for his soul.
And it's been hanging over them kind of since they turned up to the crossroads and figured out what this was. And the thing is, because it did allude to the fact they knew about this kind of stuff already somehow. They've been thinking about it before this.
Okay, so you saying that reminds me of, in the episode, Bobby tells Sam what the ingredients are for. So he knows that you can summon demons.
And he knows he gave those ingredients to John.
Yeah.
This is what I mean. I think they've known this since Dean came back from the dead, essentially.
Yeah. They've had suspicions for sure, and this is just 100% confirmed it.
It's all just tying together too nicely. So I really appreciated this conversation they have in that hallway of like, I'm thinking it, you're thinking it too. And then Sam basically saying like, it's messing you up. You can't follow this kind of train of thought with the demon. I like it. Sam's so on point sometimes. Like,
I think the thing that made me chuckle there as well is that, you know, they make such a big deal about like summoning this demon and trapping it and all this kind of stuff, and then it's like, well, just wait a couple seasons, you'll be doing it every week.
exactly. I mean, here as well, they kind of do mention that even exorcising the demon isn't a permanent solution. It's only kind of delaying the inevitable, because it will eventually crawl its way back out of hell and kill this guy, or maybe try and kill them as well. So, you know, they're putting a lot on the line helping this guy now.
Yeah,
because
definitely.
they're kind of incurring the wrath of a demon, as well as, because they don't know how to kill demons.
Nope. The only way they knew was the cult, and the cult is gone.
Exactly.
And it had one bullet left. Like, they can't take out the entire demon race.
No, with one bullet, no, for sure. Yeah, so Dean leaves Sam at Evan's house and goes, and it kind of shimmies along quite quickly. We see Dean burying the box in the crossroads. I think he's used like a cut up identification card with his face on to put in the box.
Yeah.
And I really liked, wasn't the camera work a perfect parallel to when John summons Yellow Eyes, with the panning of the camera and then the demon just appearing? And I know that's kind of how you do people appearing in a shot, but it was so perfect. And Dean's wearing the jacket. The Impala is in the background, and if that couldn't be more of a symbolic gesture, I don't know what is. It is just like, oh, you're not your father, but you are. Like,
Yes, definitely. And so this time the outfit is reversed. So it's a white woman in a black dress.
yeah.
I don't know why that stuck out to me, but it did. Like that.
They've clearly picked people for this that the intendee dealer, the summoner, would kind of find attractive. Like, Dean does kind of eye her up and down. Did you notice that?
I did see that. I mean, she does have her cleavage on display, like quite
prominently.
Quite prominently.
And there's some flirty banter going on, which is a defense mechanism for Dean at this point. I'm calling it.
Yes.
I just want to talk about this for a second, because actually it is a defense mechanism, and it's something that I have definitely done in uncomfortable situations.
What, flirted with somebody?
Not necessarily flirted, but being incredibly overly polite and like,
yes,
like unassuming. And I think it's particularly a defense mechanism that women pick up if you're in that kind of situation, that you are just overly like sweet and accommodating.
Yes.
And I've caught myself doing it a few times, and it makes me very uncomfortable with myself, I find. And I thought about this when I watched this scene, actually. I was like, this is so that. It's such a defensive thing. It's almost weird to watch it.
Yeah, and I mean, that kind of makes sense. It's almost, you're placating. You're placating the person who has more power than you. Like, they know that demons are very, very strong.
Yeah.
You know, they ripped off a plane door, like, while in flight.
Yep.
They could crush your bones with a snap of their fingers.
Yeah.
I've been rude before. I think I've told the story on the podcast before. I try not to. I do try not to, but at the same time, I try not to get myself in danger either.
Yeah. No, it's just a weird parallel for me that I thought about while I was watching it. Because, there's flirty banter.
You called me?
I'm just glad it worked.
First time.
You could say that?
Oh, come on now. Don't sell yourself short. I know all about you, Dean Winchester.
I think she said, I read the newsletter, which I thought was funny.
Yeah.
So the name is getting around now. Like we were saying before, it was John. Like, all the demons knew about John, and they didn't really know about Sam and Dean. But they are making a name for themselves in the demon community.
Yeah, definitely. There is a lot of tension between the two of them, because he's like, let's do this in my car where it's more private. I was like, the way he said that, I was like, yes, please.
Maybe we should do this in my car. Nice and private.
Sounds good to me.
But like, I knew it was a trap. I was like, there's no way he would take a demon near his car without there being some kind of like reason.
Yeah, definitely.
Wouldn't risk the car. And I'm surprised that was even an option to start with, and they didn't just go with plan B straight away. Like, why would you even... What if you got smoke in the car? Like, what if there was blood in the... Like, you know, like...
Yeah. I guess there's a lot of assumptions going on. Like, he probably assumed that they knew who he was, so they had knowledge. And I mean, that could have been literally plan A. And if the demon hadn't seen the ground, then so be it.
I think it was, yeah.
But he had a plan B, which is actually surprising. It's not often that they have a plan B.
Right. This scene's kind of interspersed with Sam keeping out the hellhound from Evan. So, I mean, it does intersperse. So it's basically him like laying down the goofer dust while the hellhound is kind of knocking on the door, like banging around. The only bit that really stood out to me from this was when the hellhound initially he draws a circle around Evan in this goofer dust, and then it's kind of outside of it, and then as soon as the banging on the door starts, he just like casually steps into the circle.
Yeah, I saw that too. What made me laugh even as well is that like after the goofer dust is finished, he just like throws the bag, not even towards like a bin or anything. He just throws it in the corner of the room. Like, this is not your house. Don't throw things like rubbish. Like, why don't you just hold on to it and put it in your pocket or something, wherever you got it from? Like, he literally just throws it, and I was like, rude.
You could use that bag for salt, like reusable. I thought Sam was supposed to be like into all this environmentally friendly vegan shtick.
We hear the first deal that they want to make, like that Dean wants to make. He wants to give up his soul in exchange for Evan's. And she sees the salt circle underneath not salt circle, but she sees the trap underneath the car, and she says, well, well, well. And the way she said it, I was like, oh, it's Maleficent.
Well, well, well. You'd sacrifice your life for someone else's. Like father, like son.
This next sentence, like, is repeated like a number of times. Or the sentiment, anyway, that she confirms that John gave up his soul for Dean. And like that sentiment gets repeated like a lot.
She's trying to make this deal with her, and like it kind of is obvious that it's a trap up to that point, and like when she spots it, you are like, oh, he's been found out. And when they come back to him, she's like calling him stupid. She's like, you stupid.
Yeah.
Stupid. I should rip you limb from limb.
Take your best shot.
So the demon was considering killing him, right? But decides that leaving him alive is funnier somehow.
Yes. Your misery is too much fun to watch, and I wrote, that's why we're here.
Oh my god, it's true. That is why we're here. Sorry, Dean.
Sorry, Dean. This is also where I was like, do demons read minds, or Crossroad demons read minds? Because there's so much that is being said here, and like even her attitude is so much like Dean. And she's pulling at the threads of John giving up his life for Dean's, and like what that means to Dean. And there's no other way that they could really know that unless the demon could read Dean's mind, right?
I thought the exact same thing. I said it seems like she's reading Dean's thoughts. Because, the things she says.
Knowing how your daddy died for you, how he sold his soul. I mean, that's gotta hurt. Is all you ever think about. You wake up and your first thought is, I can't do this anymore. You're all lit up with pain. I mean, you loved him so much. And it's all your fault. You blew it, Dean. I could have given you what you need.
What do I need?
Your father.
And I'm like, yeah, this is totally on
point.
And like it's stuff that so Dean and Sam had that really heartfelt conversation at the end of Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things about him feeling guilty about being brought back and that he shouldn't have been, that it's all very wrong. But as far as we know, that's all they've really talked about it. They haven't really talked about the fact that Dean's not really coping well without John there. Like he seems a bit directionless without him, and maybe like needs a bit of guidance, I guess, because he's always had John around to kind of tell him what to do. And now having to find his way on his own. He seems to be actually, really struggling. I think Sam's helps with that. But yeah, it's tough. But how would a demon know that other than, reading thoughts? Or are they being watched?
I mean, that's very true. John had mentioned that, you know, he was being watched by demons and that they were everywhere. She also says that she could bring John back.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think she's lying here. I don't think she has as much pull as the yellow-eyed demon does. So we know that John doesn't break and that they end up needing, well, possibly doesn't break. Again, there's lots of lies going around, so you can't really trust a liar. So a liar's going to lie. That's what it comes down to.
And demons lie a lot. And you're right, because she does... Oh, she says here a few times that John wasn't supposed to die, right? She alludes to that. She's like, oh, you know, I could bring him back and he'll live a long, natural life. And I'm like, that's not... There's something not true. It doesn't ring true in that. And I think it's even contradicted by Dean in this episode. Yeah, I think you're completely right, because she's saying, like, if you're lost for trying to trap me, I could have brought your father back and now I can. I don't think she could have done.
No. The things that kind of rounded out this scene for me was, like, Dean's lip quiver and then the demon's smirk. Like, he's very good at acting. Like, Dean is very good at acting. Like, he's actually considering this deal. Because it looks like the demon's got him on the hook.
Like, as she walks away from him, he looks quite shaken by the thought of that. Yeah, and you're right. And I think he even says, like, hold on, you know, as she's walking away. And, like, we know it's a ruse, but it is, like, very, very, very believable.
It is, yeah. So and then we're back at Evan's house and hellhounds are, like, banging on the door. I was trying to imagine what Sam's seeing at this point, because he can't hear them. He's just seeing these dogs, like, bashing against the door. How weird is that?
It is odd. My favourite bit about this was it suddenly stops and then Evan says, is it over? And Sam does this, like, and I think this is the first time it's happened in the series, he does his, like, shrug and a head tilt. And it's such a Sam gesture. I was like, oh my god. Just like, maybe. I love it.
You know, I didn't clock that. That's really amazing.
I need to give it. I haven't found one online, and I have to make it. But it's such a Sam gesture at me. Yeah, I loved it so much.
Now that you say it, though, I can actually 100% imagine it.
You can see it, right? You know what I mean? The gesture. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's not over because the dog breaks through the grate that Sam didn't put gopher dust in front of. Rookie mistake, Sam. Come on. Rookie mistake. So back to the demon and Dean.
Yeah, and she's going off of the fact that they could have, you know, the Winchesters back together for at least 10 years.
I just need to stop a second. And I know I've gone off for a few little things this episode, and this one's the worst. All right, here we go. So she's offering him... she's offering him 10 years for John's life. Should have just taken the deal. He should have just taken the deal. Because he's, 27 here? He would have made it to 37. He actually only ever made it to 42. So he might as well have just made this deal and it would have meant nothing.
Yeah, it would have meant nothing. Yeah.
10 years. It's a long time in Winchester time, I guess. I mean, I guess what? Where have we got to? 10 years. Season 12, end of season 12. Yeah, he may have made this deal, and we could have had John Winchester for the next 10 seasons, and it would have
been horrible. I mean, can you imagine? Sam would not have made it those 10 years, though.
No. It would have just been Dean and John on the road, real, like, man angst. I don't know though. Here's my. Do you think if John had come back and killed Sam, do you think Dean would have killed John? I think so.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just a little like fan fiction moment there for me.
Absolutely. Yep.
It made me very angry just like a real brief second. I just had like a very bright flash of anger in my brain where I was like, 10 years is actually a very long time for Dean.
Yes.
Sad times, guys.
It really is. But yeah, so the demon's really laying it on thick, like saying everything that he's felt since Faith, basically.
Yes.
That he shouldn't be there.
Mm-hmm.
I think Tessa was kind of relieving some of those feelings in My Time of Dying, but of course he doesn't remember any of that.
No. She was doing a good job as a, kind of therapist adjacent.
Yeah, exactly. And it looks like Dean's about to fall for it. Like, he's doing a pretty good job. Again, this is another moment where, like, I hate knowing what's going to happen because we know what's going to happen. I wanted to put myself back into, like, first time watching this and being like, he's going to make a deal? What?
Yeah.
What is he doing? Like, this wasn't part of the plan. But then he asked for steak knives.
You think you could throw in a set of steak knives?
You know the smart-ass self-defense mechanism of yours.
And you knew.
Then we see the devil's trap on the bottom of the water tank, which that's the devil's trap that I remember.
Yeah, same. Like the pentagram.
Yeah, with the symbols in the negative space.
You would think. I guess it's only the second time this has happened so far, but I know they pull this again. I know they pull it again
multiple times, all the time.
How is that not in the newsletter? Like, if
they know how to trap us. Watch out! Look above and below.
Carry one of those. Like, carry a mirror with you everywhere you go. Yeah. The Winchesters might have put something on the ceiling.
And check under every rug.
Yeah, every rug.
I guess demons are arrogant, so that's probably where it comes down to. And also it's TV, so of course. So Dean changes the terms of the deal. It's now let Evan go and I'll let you go.
Yeah.
So the thing that I don't quite understand though, how would exorcising a demon stop it from being summoned?
Good point.
Now, what you said earlier with the fact that they're being summoned but they're still possessing somebody is what I think it comes down to. So like they can be summoned but they need to have a body.
Yeah.
That they're already occupying.
I think so. I think they already had to have made their way out of hell in order to be properly summoned. I think that's how this works. And I imagine you would have to do a stronger summoning ritual to get a demon from hell.
Yeah.
If they're not already on Earth.
Mm-hmm. And since this is, like I said, it's a very, very basic one, it probably is just like... This demon probably roams the Earth all the time, making deals. Because that's its whole point is to bring souls to hell. So nothing is stopping demons in charge are okay with him being up on the surface.
I think so. And like, because they have red eyes, it kind of assumes that Crossroads demons are a different kind of breed of demon. And I've always thought that. I think the coloured eyes represent kind of more powerful demons. And if you think about it, Crossroads demons are really powerful. They essentially change the kind of fabric of reality for these wishes. So it makes sense. They are, in the hierarchy of demons, pretty powerful. So it makes sense that there are a lot of them who were able to get out of hell also, I feel.
Yeah.
Because it's hard for demons to get out of hell at this point in the show. Yeah.
Sam and Dean are also assuming there's only one.
Yes.
Which I don't think there is. I think there's probably multiple.
I think if they signed a contract and there's a Crossroads demon about, then they're going to collect on that contract, right? Whether it's the same one or not, I don't think that necessarily matters.
It feels very much like how there's multiple Reapers, there's multiple Crossroads demons.
Yeah. And, well, I mean, that kind of gets proven later on, but I mean...
Yeah.
Also, she says here that she can't break the contract, and I also think that's true, because what they're doing here is they're not breaking the contract, they're changing the terms of it.
Yeah, I think so too. It's really difficult to actually talk about this whole this whole sequence of events because it flicks back and forth so much. So now we're back with Sam and Evan, and they're inside the circle, and we see the claw marks on the floor as the hellhounds are walking in, and they're huge. They look like probably the size of bears.
Exactly. And most of the scenes with Sam interspersed in here are them just running from the hellhounds. I think there's a bit where they get trapped behind a door, and Sam's kind of keeping the door closed, which I thought was pretty cool. But other than that, it's just them kind of getting chased.
Yeah, basically. So now we're back with the demon, and the demon's like, think of your dad. The thing is, we already know that Dean doesn't feel sympathy for people who make deals, so especially at this time, it doesn't make sense that he would trade his soul for John's soul.
Doesn't it? I still don't. I think we said this earlier on. Though it doesn't. His morality doesn't apply to him.
Yeah, but then I don't think he wants John out. I think he still resents him a little bit for putting him in that position.
So he said earlier to Evan it was selfish, right? Because now he has to live, his wife would have to live without him. What he's saying is, now I have to live without my father because he made a selfish deal for my life. And I'm like, Dean's sad about it, and struggling with that decision. Whether or not he would make a deal to have John back, I think here he was considering it. I do. I honestly think it. I don't think he would have ever gone through with it. But I do think that there was a moment of doubt where he was definitely considering it.
This point in the season, or in the whole series as a general, if Sam had made the deal and was in hell, absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah, he would have done it. Yeah.
Yeah. No doubt in my mind.
Yeah, it's because of John. He has mixed feelings about John. So I think it comes down to he thinks it's almost his duty if he, to make that deal, right? But at the same time, doesn't actually want to. That's where there's that conflict there. I think as soon as he has her trapped, I think all kind of ideas of making that deal is out of his mind.
Yeah. Now it's about just saving Evan any way that he can, whether it's exorcising this demon or getting the deal made. And then the demon basically calls Uncle, flips it back again to Sam, and the door stopped rattling. And then it's back to Dean and the demon, and they're making out. That's very shocking to the system.
It was quite a shock because it just cuts back and they're full on kissing.
What the hell was that for?
Sealing the deal.
I usually like to be warned before I'm violated with demon tongue.
Do you think at that moment he's like, did my dad do this?
Oh my god, you're right. Did you think that thought went through his mind? Wait. So John made a deal with him. So, oh no, that must have crossed his mind. So sorry, Dean. You now have that mental image.
Like the rest of us.
Suffer with us. So he's essentially saved Evan, and Dean needs to do his half of the deal and let the demon go. But he's like, maybe I shouldn't.
Yeah. But then she basically convinced him by saying that if you exorcise me, I'll crawl myself back out of hell and I'll go after Evan first. So I think this might be a bit of mind reading again because, well, maybe not. It could also be very obvious. How much power is lost when a demon is in a devil's trap?
Good question. It seems like they can't use their powers outside of it. I guess it was kind of dangerous for him to step into the devil's trap to kiss her but then I guess she would go out eventually, I assume. But I mean, yeah, it seems like it's limited to inside the circle. Maybe? I don't know.
Because when it gets exorcised, they can get out of the circle, but they can't smoke out.
It's very confusing. Devil traps are very confusing, I find. And it's best just not to think about it too hard.
I think there's also a lot of stuff I don't remember about them, so I'm talking, but I'm they may kind of clarify and stuff much later on when they're in use a lot more.
Dean decides to free her based on that. I think that's probably a good decision. They have made a deal, and it seems like it's binding. So he kind of climbs up to the bottom of the water tower and breaks the devil's trap. And then her parting line before she leaves.
I gotta tell you, you would have never pulled that stunt if you knew.
Knew what?
Where your dad is. You should have made that deal. See, people talk about hell, but it's just a word. It doesn't even come close to describing the real thing.
Yeah, explains that hell is real. I mean, they kind of knew that already.
And then she smokes out and then leaves this very confused woman behind. We have no idea where she goes because the next scene is like white. Or the transition turns to white and it's the headlights of the Impala.
Yeah, there was a lot of transitions between the Impala and this episode that I did appreciate, and this was one of them, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And they're kind of... So obviously we're coming in mid-conversation here between Dean and Sam. So it's obvious that they've met up. Everything's fine. Dean has then told Sam everything that happened. And it seems in this case he has actually told him everything.
Yes.
Including, the deal that he was trying to, pretending to make with the demon. I say pretending. And what she told him, that John is in hell. Because Sam's saying, well, demons lie all the time.
How could he do it? He did it for you. Exactly. How am I supposed to live with that? The thought of him, wherever he is right now. I mean, he spent his whole life chasing that yellow-eyed son of a bitch. He should have gone out fighting. That was supposed to be his legacy, Not bargaining with the damn thing. Not this.
How many people do you think Dad saved?
That's not the point, son.
Evan Hudson is safe because of what Dad taught us. That's his legacy, Dean. Now we're still here, man. So we gotta keep going. For him.
The thing that stuck out to me was the line where Dean says he should have gone out fighting. I feel like that's what we're saying about Dean now, in present time.
Okay, all right. Okay, let's get into this because I also wrote this number down. So Dean's basically saying, the thought of him, going out like that with the yellow-eyed demon, he'd been fighting it his whole life. Yes, he should have gone out fighting, and then he says, that was supposed to be his legacy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, first of all, let's break this down. So Dean always thought that John was going to die on a hunt. That was his ultimate ending for John. He couldn't see him retiring after the yellow-eyed demon. I think he always saw that he was going to go out at some point, trying to bring it down, or as it, kind of mutually assured destruction with this demon.
Yeah.
And I just wrote, Dean, you're not your dad.
Yep.
I mean, I love Sam in this scene, because he says, think of all the people that he saved, think of all the people that we've saved because of him. I think that's his legacy.
Mm-hmm.
Right, okay. This is how they also did Sam dirty in the finale. Okay? This conversation here. I don't know. And he says, we've got to keep fighting for him, or we've got to keep going for him. And because that should be what we're focusing on, the saving people part. At this point in the series, and what Dean is saying to Sam is that he believes that going out fighting is kind of John's legacy, and therefore their legacy is that they're going to keep fighting until something happens and they can't anymore. Mm-hmm. Whereas Sam's saying they should be saving people, and that's, that was what John passed on to them, and they should keep doing that, I guess, until they can't do it anymore.
If they wanted to do a full circle thing, they didn't. Okay, they did it for Dean. Completely stupid that they did it for Dean.
Yeah.
Because Dean is still thinking this way. Sam's thinking has changed now.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Sam in 15, 20 is back to episode 1, season 1.
Exactly. Sam's whole perspective on hunting changes in season 2 and doesn't really go back.
No.
It's, he very clear. Once John dies, Sam seems to have a complete 180 on hunting. Thinks it's
and
really
John himself.
And John, yeah, exactly. He thinks it's really important. He thinks that saving people is worthwhile. He wants to work with other hunters. He says this like constantly in season 2. Throughout the seasons, it's shown this as well. He's always really willing to work with people and collaborate and kind of be a leader. And I can understand, because I can this is so painful to talk about. I can kind of see what they were trying to do with Dean's death, and I don't think it's right, and I don't think that it worked, but I can understand the thinking behind it. I don't fully understand why they had Sam retire from hunting, because that's what it appeared it was, and cut all connections with anybody from the Hunter Network, including Eileen, I guess. I mean...
Yeah, that's still up in the air.
We can't talk about Blurry Wife.
No, we can't talk about Blurry Wife, but yeah.
And as much as, people say, like, yes, Dean deserved a better ending, Sam deserved one too, and I really don't understand, because it seemed like they were going in such a direction with his character as someone who could work separately from Dean. I mean, there were times in these seasons where Dean was off doing other things and Sam was, like, basically running a whole bunker full of people.
Yeah.
And also, I'm sorry, I'm still going on. It also seems like that would be the most fitting tribute to, like, Dean's memory, would be to, like, continue saving people, because he went out saving people, and also, making sure that hunters are as equipped as possible, so stuff like that doesn't happen anymore.
Exactly. Using the excuse of COVID, all right?
Okay.
I could see why they might not have shown him, like, passing on the keys to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
But then I think back to who they brought on for that episode.
Yeah.
Because alternate Bobby was still there, right?
Yes.
So he could have literally just given the keys to alternate Bobby.
Well, we don't know, actually, because they didn't show anybody coming back. Right,
Yeah,
this
right.
is the thing that annoys me, because they didn't show anyone coming back after being dusted Endgame style. But they actually could have done, because if that was in the story, you would shoot that in the same day as them disappearing. You would have them coming back, right? You wouldn't shoot it on a different day. That doesn't make sense to get everyone back in that same location to shoot that. So either that footage exists and they cut it, or, which they decided
possible
to just not tell anybody that everyone survived and is fine now, which is why that's just cruel. Like, yeah,
because, like, I'm pretty sure in the earlier, like, we're giving a whole bunch of season 15 spoilers out, but when Dean is Michael and he's no longer at the bunker, I'm pretty sure they have, like, an assignment board, right? Where people are, who was out where. They literally could have had that in the background to show that, okay, we can't have the people here because of COVID, but they're out somewhere doing something.
There's so much signaling they could have done without having actors there. There are voiceovers they could have done. There's sign language they could have used. There's props they could have used. And yes, I don't know what happened, and I still don't know what happened, but it's disappointing to me still that, these are, like, I feel like quite simple things that could have signaled to fans a different sort of ending for the show, and they just chose not to, I guess. I mean, it
seemed kind of lazy.
Okay,
So,
rant over, because, like, that conversation just it
it's
into,
good, spiral.
like,
Yeah.
15-20 rage, and it happens every now and then when I watch these episodes.
Coming back, I don't think Dean ever truly forgives John for making this deal.
No, I don't either.
Ever. I don't think, even in his redemption episode, even after that, I don't think he still forgave John for making that decision.
No, Lebanon's a very tense episode, I feel, for John and Dean. Yeah.
And then Sam actually asks if he would make that deal, and it's just silent for the rest of the episode.
Yeah.
He changes the radio station from Crossroads to I didn't catch what song.
No, I didn't either. Just some rock. I was too in the moment. I do think he was considering it, but is unable to voice that to Sam. I think silence says 1,000 words, or whatever.
Yes. Yeah. So I think it was kind of up to interpretation, but also that and he just didn't want to have the conversation, like, because he knew, like, it wouldn't go the way he wanted it to go.
Overall, with this episode, I did really enjoy it. I think it brings in a lot of lore that's used later on, which is really useful.
Yes.
We find out finally that John's in hell, and it's confirmed that to them that he sold his soul for Dean.
Yeah.
Which just starts a tradition, I guess, family tradition.
Yeah. It's an interesting one. Like, for being such a story-heavy episode, and like it's almost a foundational episode, like you said. There's so much demon lore that gets confirmed and witnessed, I guess, in this. It's kind of cool to see. It felt like it should have been a longer episode with certain things.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like the first half of this episode wasn't paced very well, but the second half was really well done.
Yeah, I feel like they could have cut some of the scenes with the Doctor in. I think they could have just crunched that all together and then maybe pulled out some other parts of it. I think, there are a few things I think they could have changed differently. But overall, I really did enjoy it. I think it's one of my favourites for a reason. I think that just the first kind of demon deal is great. It's awesome. I am looking forward to more demon deals in the future. Am I?
I'm looking forward to when Crowley gets introduced.
Me too. I miss Crowley. He would have been great in this episode. I think they should have just replaced this Crossroads demon with Crowley. And actually, their attitude was quite similar.
That's true.
Crowley could have said all of those lines.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong at all. So I hope you guys are enjoying our new logo that was designed by the fabulous The Pixel Agora. Go make sure you follow them on Tumblr and commission them for some art as well, because their art is amazing. So thank you so much. We really, really appreciate you reaching out to us and, doing this for us. You can buy the new logo as a sticker.
Yes, please follow us on our various social media sites. We're on Tumblr, Twitter, Instagram, everywhere. And leave comments and discussion points. Please see our description for the links. And this week, we made a deal. Is it going to go bad this time? I'm sure this time it'll be good, right? This time it'll be absolutely fine. I think it's fine.
We got 10 years, right?
Yeah, 10 years is like a long time. It's absolutely fine. It's fine. It's fine, guys. All right, next time we'll find our way out. Bye.
Bye.